friends. I kind of can't believe it, but this is our very last episode of The One and Only Ivan. But be aware, for tomorrow's One and Only Ivan episode, which you'll find as a material in your Google Classroom, you will have a little bit of a surprise, which I'll tell you about at the end of this video. So listen in for the last bits of One and Only Ivan, and we'll talk about the special surprise that's coming up tomorrow. We're starting on page 284, and this section is called It. Oh, before I start, remember that Ivan is now a part of a gorilla family in a zoo, and he's just getting to know his new family, and Kenyani is one of the new gorillas that he lives with. This is called It. Kenyani ambles toward me. She taps me in the shoulder and knuckle runs away. I watch her, arms crossed over my chest. I'm careful not to make a sound. I'm not sure what we're doing. She ambles back, shoves me, dashes past. And then I realize what's happening. We're playing. We're playing tag. And I'm it. Romance. Make eye contact. Show your form, strut, grunt, throw a stick, grunt some more. Make some moves. Romance is hard work. It looks easy on TV. I'm not sure I will ever get the hang of it. Sounds like Ivan and Kenyana might be interested. More about romance. I wish Bob were here. I could use some advice. I try to recall all the romance movies we watched together. I remember the talking, the hugging, the face licking. I'm not very good at this, but it's fun trying. Grooming. Is there anything sweeter than the touch of another as she pulls a dead bug from your fur? Talk. Gorillas aren't chatty like humans, prone to gossip and bad jokes, but now and again we swap a story under the sun. One day it's my turn. I tell my troop about Mac and Ruby and Bob and Stella and Julia and George, about my mother and father and sister. When I'm done, they look away, silent. Kenyani moves closer, her shoulder brushes mine, and we let the sun soak into our fur together. The top of the hill. I've explored every nook and cranny of this place, except for a hill at the far end where the workers have been repairing a wall. They're finally gone. They've left behind fresh white brick and a mound of black dirt. Make a prediction. While the others laze in the morning sun, I want to explore the hilltop. They've been there before, and I have not. Everything is still fresh to my eyes. I take my time going uphill. The feel of the grass on my knuckles, the breeze carries the shouts of children and the drowsy hum of bumblebees. Near the top of the hill is a low-limbed tree, the kind my sister would have loved. The wall is endless, clean and white, stretching far down to the habitats beyond my own. It's high and wide, carefully built to keep us in and others out. This is, after all, still a cage. It rained last night, and the pile of dirt is soft to the touch. Are you revising your prediction? I scoop up a handful and breathe in the loamy smell. That's the smell of soil. It's a rich brown color, heavy and cool in my palm. And the wall waits like an endless blank billboard. This section's called The Wall. It's a big wall. It's a big pile of dirt. And I'm a big artist. I slap handfuls of mud onto the warm cement. I make a handprint. I tap my nose with a muddy finger. I make a nose print. I slide my palms up and down. The mud is thick and hard to use, but I keep moving and scooping and spreading. I don't know what I'm making, and I don't care. I make swoops and swirls and thick lines, figures and shapes, light and shadow. I'm an artist at work. When I'm done, I step back to admire my work. But it's a large canvas, and I'd like to get a better view. I go to the thick-limbed tree and grab the lowest branch. I try to swing my legs. Oomph! I land hard. I'm too big to climb, I suppose. I try again anyway, and this time to pull myself up on the first limb, gasping for breath. One more limb, two, and I can't go any further. Perched halfway up the tree, I see my troop, still dozing contentedly. A troop is a group of monkeys. Yes, I'm sure that you knew that. Or primates, I should say. I take in the wall, splattered and splashed with mud. Not much color, but lots of movement. I like it. It feels dreamy and wild, like something Julia might have made. From my seat in the tree, I can see beyond the wall. I see giraffes and hippos. I see deer with legs like delicate twigs. I see deer with legs like delicate twigs. It's another simile. I see a bear snoozing in a hollow log. I see elephants. This chapter is called Safe. She's far away, belly deep in grass, tall grass with the others by her side. Ruby. She's here, Stella, I whisper. Ruby's safe, just like I promised. I call to Ruby, but the wind tugs at my words, and I know she'll never hear me. The wind tugs at my words. That's an example of personification. When an author uses a literary device called personification, it means that they take something that's not alive and they give it person-like qualities. So in this case, Katherine Applegate is giving the wind a person-like quality when she says, the wind tugs at my words, like someone would tug at your sleeve. And we know what it means, right? It's illustrative. And I know she'll never hear me. Still, Ruby pauses for a second. Her ears spread wide like tiny sails. Then, with lumbering grace, she moves on through the grass. Silverback. It's a cloudy evening, chill and drizzly. Dinner is on its way, but I don't care. At night, we sleep in our den, but I'm always the last to head inside. I've been inside long enough. This time of day, there aren't many visitors, just a few stragglers, leaning on the wall that separates us. They point, take a couple of photos, and then head over to the nearby giraffes. One of the keepers is beckoning. That means. Reluctantly, I turn to go. Out of the corner of my eye, I see someone running. I pause. It's a girl with dark hair, lugging a backpack. A man follows behind, racing to catch up. Do you know who it is? Ivan, the girl yells. Ivan, it's Julia. I scramble to the edge of the wide moat that skirts the wall. Julia and George wave to me. I dash back and forth, hooting and grunting, doing a gorilla dance of happiness. Calm down, says a voice. You're behaving like a chimp. I freeze. A tiny, nut-brown, big-eared head pops out of Julia's backpack. Who's that? You got it. Nice place, Bob says. Bob, I say, it's really you. In the flesh. How? Where? I can't seem to find any words. I want to show you a picture on this page. There's Julia with Bob in her backpack. We don't know how or why Julia's father, George, changed his mind about Bob, but maybe we'll find out now. George's job at the zoo doesn't start until next month, so he and Julia made an agreement. She's walking 3 extra dogs to cover my food. And get this, they're all poodles. You said you didn't want a home, I say. Yeah, Bob says, but Julia's mom likes my company, so I figure I'm doing everybody a favor. It's a win-win. Julia pushes Bob's head back inside the backpack. You're not supposed to be here, she reminds him. Ivan looks great, doesn't he, Jules? George asks. Stronger, happier even. Julia holds up a little photo, but it's too far away for me to see. It's Ruby, Ivan. She's with the other elephants now because of you. I know, I want to tell her. I saw with my own eyes. We stare across the expanse that separates us. After a while, George pats Julia's arm. Time to go, Jules. Julia gives a wistful smile. Bye, Ivan. Say hello to your new family. She turns to George. Thank you, Dad. For what? For, she gestures toward me, for this. They turn to leave. The lamps that light the zoo pathways blink on, blanketing the world with yellow light. I can just make out Bob's little head sticking out of Julia's backpack. You are the one and only Ivan, he calls. I nod, then turn toward my family, my life, my home. Mighty Silverback, I whisper. Here's the picture on that page of Ivan finally in a much better situation. And that is page 300, and that is the end of our story. So, zoos aren't perfect either, right? And there's lots of different kinds of zoos, but animals who have been taken out of the wild for a long time often would need a lot of rehabilitation in order to get back to the wild. Some of them who've been captured can get back to the wild, but many cannot. And zoos are a place, safe zoos that are really well run, are a place that those animals can live out their days in much happier situations than malls or circuses. So I encourage you to think about the animals going forward. I encourage you to think about what animals experience and how they're treated by humans, and how we get to decide, we can change that when we notice cruelty and injustice is happening. We can shift that and change that in our culture. Many of you might already know this, and I don't know that everybody does, but this book, The One and Only Ivan, is based, it's fiction, but it is based on a true story. That means there really was an Ivan. There really was a silverback gorilla that lived in a mall. And actually, this particular mall is not far from here. It was in Tacoma, Washington, which is up towards Seattle. And he lived in that mall for, I think, 26 years. And eventually, his plight was brought to the attention of people who could save him and take him someplace else. So that really did happen. And the real Ivan ended up in Atlanta, Georgia, to live a much happier life than he lived in the mall. So tomorrow, for your One and Only Ivan episode, you're going to be directed to a link to an interview that aired on NPR, and it is an interview with Catherine Applegate, who is the author of this book. And the interviewer talks to Catherine Applegate about the book and what her inspiration was and how she came up with the idea to write about an animal's perspective. And she tells about her visit with, or her attempted visit with Ivan. She went to see Ivan in Atlanta, and she tells about that. It's a 7-minute audio episode. There's no video attached to it, so you'll just listen to the story, the interviewer talking with Catherine Applegate. The other thing I wanted to share about One and Only Ivan is that there is a new book coming out, a sequel, I guess. And I haven't read it, and I've only heard about it. It's fresh off the presses, I believe, and it's a spin-off of this story. So a spin-off maybe takes some of the characters and then creates a new story. And in this case, it's not really a sequel, it's more of a spin-off. It's called The One and Only Bob. So it's how Bob's character moves into his new life, I'm predicting. So that's out there. Wanted you to know about that too. Okay, thank you for joining us for The One and Only Ivan. We are done with this fantastic book. I hope that you will reread it. I hope you'll recommend it to others. I hope you will think clearly about the central messages in this book. And really ask yourself, what is Katherine Applegate trying to teach us? What's the golden nugget that's in this story? Is it about the importance of friendship? Is it about the importance of persevering and never giving up? Is it about the importance of treating our animal friends and companions on this planet differently than we do right now? Is it about thinking about others before just yourself? There's a lot of different themes that you might have been picking up from this book. And going forward, you might be wondering, well, what about story time? Are we going to still have story time? Yes, we are. I thought about starting a new chapter book, and that could happen, but right now my idea is to take a week or 3 episodes and think about Patricia Polacco books. And so I'll be taking 3 days to read a Patricia Polacco book, and then on the Thursday of the week, we'll talk about the central message of that story, since central message is our targeted standard right now. That's our daily focus skill. We're really working hard on understanding central message. So Patricia Polacco read-alouds will help us to do that. So come back next week to story time, and you'll get to find out which Patricia Polacco book we'll be exploring. So don't miss tomorrow's episode. Click on the assignment so you can take the link right to the NPR interview and have a chance to hear about the real Ivan, and also hear more about our author, Katherine Applegate. All right, friends, that's it. See you next week.